Boker Tov Lekulam. So wonderful that we're joining together again, one final time for this academic year for Kabbalat Shabbat. We're looking forward to hearing from Sami from Year 6, who's prepared his Devar Torah for today. We're also going to hear from a very special guest. I'll leave you guessing who that might be. Let's start off with singing Lecha Dodi. Now, as you know, when I've been recording these Kabbalat Shabbat videos, I've always had a special helper. I'd love to choose any of you, but you're not here, thankfully, and therefore I am left to bring out Mr. Ted. Yay! Oh, if I hold him like that, he's headless. That's a bit scary. Luckily, he's not really headless. He's going to stop playing around. Stay still. Right. There we are. Right. As long as I don't move him, his head will stay here. Don't worry, his head is absolutely fine. It's just the camera. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamo v'zachor b'dibur echad, Yishmiyanu el hamiuchad, Hashem echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'letila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Bo'i chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. What do you mean, what was I doing? It's obvious I was trying not to sneeze. I'd have to start this video all over again if I did that. So well done to Mr. Ted. Very, very good performance by you, and also some great singing, I'm sure, by you. Well done. Who are you pointing at? Oh, I see. Yeah, you're pointing at them. Right, got it. So let's now move along. Excuse me while I sniff. To Shalom Aleichem. We welcome in the Shabbat. I'm going to ask you actually, what was all the bowing about? Bowing. Who are you bowing to? Oh, I see. So it's the Shabbat Queen. Okay, we are bowing. We're accepting royalty. We're bringing Shabbat in. We're welcoming Shabbat, and now we're going to welcome the angels into our homes by singing Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, מי מלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, מי מלך מלכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Now, of course, Mr. Ted, as well as saying Tzeitzchem L'Shalom to the Shabbat angels, the angels that are accompanying us home on Shabbat, but we're also going to be saying Tzeitzchem L'Shalom to a few other people, but more about that later. Okay, so let us now hear from Sami from Year 6, who has prepared this week's Devar Torah, and let's see what he has to share with us.
Welcome. This week's parasha is a double parasha. Matot Masai. I'll start with Parashat Matot first. Parashat Matot begins with a detailed list of all the laws relating to vows and oaths. Next, Moshe is instructed to take revenge against the Midianites, and there's a long report on Israel's terrible battle against Midian. In the aftermath of the war, Moshe reminds the soldiers about Tumah, the laws of ritual impurity, and deals with the division of gold and silver between soldiers, community, and the Mishkan. Next, Moshe is approached by the tribes of Reuben and Gad, asking to be given some land on the east side of the Jordan River. At first, Moshe is annoyed by the request and feels like the rest of Bnei Israel will want to stay with them, just like their ancestors when the spies came out and lied. But then he relents as long as they agree to continue to fight with the rest of Israel to conquer the land of Israel and help settle in. If they don't do what they said they would be punished because they had promised. If you make a promise, you must keep it. However, the Torah uses two very different terms to make its point. Neder, vow, is generally used to represent a promise to do something. I vow to give £100 to tzedakah. Shavua, on the other hand, is generally translated as oath, implying a promise to abstain from doing something. I swear to stop eating sweets. In each case, as soon as it is said, the promise is considered binding. You must carry through with whatever you have said. To swear is a serious sin, even if someone intends to carry out what they have sworn. King Yanai had 1,000 cities, and all of them were destroyed because their inhabitants continually swore, even on true things. This occurred because they mentioned God's name for no reason. How much worse then is it when someone swears falsely? They should definitely be punished. But if a person makes a vow because he is afraid in case his evil preference discourages him from a good action, that's allowed. In fact, God ordered that someone should make a vow in the case where a person went on an evil path, and the vow will rein him in to ensure that he no longer returns to that way. As King David said, I have sworn and shall fulfill to heed your righteous judgments. We see from this that it is allowed to swear in order to fulfill the commandments. Parashat Masai talks about unintentional manslaughter. What is the appropriate penalty for someone who kills someone else unintentionally? Should there be any penalty at all? The parasha discusses the establishment of the 6 cities of refuge. Anyone who unintentionally kills another person was permitted to flee to these cities. Once within their walls, the manslayer was protected by law against any revenge or additional punishment. In this way, the Torah balanced the need to insist that killing another person is morally wrong and deserves punishment, while also asserting a difference between murder, which is deliberate, and manslaughter, which is not. The Torah says clearly that the 6 cities of refuge would protect only the unintentional manslayer. Those who committed full murder were to be evicted, tried, and punished. All intentional murders remain hateful, but they are different from an accidental killing. Someone who kills unintentionally is still guilty, but not as bad. In fact, the Talmud expanded upon this insight to provide for the release without penalty of those involved in complete accidents. The Torah consistently maintains its emphasis on kavanah, intention. Our Jewish traditions continue that distinction to this day. Human beings represent something precious, the only representation of God in the world. And what is most holy about us is our knowledge of good and evil. As this week's parasha says, I, the Lord, dwell in the midst of the children of Israel. To which Rashi adds, you shall not cause me to abide in uncleanness. Our actions must reflect our intentions as we strive to make our intentions correspond more closely to God's. As this is the last parasha of Year 6, I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to all of them and maybe learnt something too. It's over to Year 5 now to start all over again. Shabbat Shalom and have an amazing summer.
Well, that was fantastic. So wonderful to hear those words of Torah from Sammy. And as Sammy says, that does bring to an end a year of Year 6 Divrei Torah. Year 6 are going to receive a copy of all the Divrei Torah as a memento of this year. And it is indeed time to hand over to Year 5. And Year 5, we hope that you're going to really enjoy preparing your own Divrei Torah next year and sharing them with a wide audience of the school and beyond. So good luck to you. So I did mention before that we have a very special guest. I don't know whether you've been able to guess who it is, but it's someone who is very well known to all of you, and it is Rabbi Lawrence. So I'm going to hand over to him, and we're going to hear from Rabbi Lawrence now.
At school, I remember our English language teacher making us write the word nice on a piece of paper, scrunch it up and throw it into the bin. Thing met a similar fate. Then came and. Finally, we were instructed never to use the same word more than twice in any paragraph, or we would be marked down for poor style. If Miss Lillywhite had taught Shakespeare how to write, out, damned Ed Spot would have been reduced to out, damned Spot, and Lady Macbeth would sound as if she was starring in a laundry commercial. Another one of Miss Lillywhite's rules was don't ever list. At the beginning of this week's second parsha, we have a very long list. 40 years wandering and 42 journeys with 42 encampments, occupying almost 50 verses. There's no TripAdvisor reviews of the route, the scenery, the sights, attractions or restaurants, not a mention of the nightlife or culture. This is Torah as dry as it gets. In introducing this list, which would have raised Miss Lillywhite's fearsome anger, the Torah tells us, and Moshe wrote their goings out to their journeys according to the Lord, and these are their journeys according to their goings out. Vayichtov Moshe et motzeihem l'maasehem al pi Hashem, ve'ele maasehem l'motzehem. Goings out, journeys, going out. Miss Lillywhite would be cringing. Why the repetition? Why the change in order? Goings out to their journeys at the beginning, and then journeys to their going out just a few words on. We can't say that Hashem is a sloppy writer. We can't scrunch up passages of the Torah and just throw them into the bin. Our rabbis suggest many answers. The Baal HaTurim explains the repetition and reversal teach that both the journeys, which is the traveling, and the setting out on each fresh stage were only when Hashem gave the instruction. Rabbi Sforno explains that it is as difficult to set off on a journey as to continue it. Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch says that the setting out on the journey was Hashem's perspective. He was looking ahead to the eventual destination of the Holy Land. But for us, for Bnei Yisrael, the emphasis was on the journey to each resting place. They didn't know where they were, how far they had to go, how many stages were left. Like so many kids in a car ride, when are we going to stop again? Sometimes it is the journey that is hard, and the change a welcome break. Sometimes the journey carries with it excitement, and it's the changeover time that drags. This year has seen so many starts and stops to our normal lives. We've experienced disruption to study and home life. We may have spent more time together with people who matter, and that may have been good, or sometimes a bit too much. We've missed playing with friends, but we may have learnt new hobbies. It's been tough not knowing how long it'll last or who will be affected. Hashem only knows where our journey through life will take us. In this parsha, we learn that even so, the journey matters, and it's important to make the stops and starts, the weeks and Shabbatot, our terms and our holidays count. Wishing you Shabbat Shalom and good health for you and all your families.
Well, thank you, Rabbi Lawrence. And we are now just going to take a moment, and I want you to think of something that you are grateful for, or something that you want to ask Hashem for. Just want us, before we continue, before we get to the end of Kabbalat Shabbat, something that we want to say Todah, thank you for, something that we would like to request Hashem for. So I'm going to ask you just to think of that for a moment. Well, here's the thing. I'm now sitting here. You're watching me on a screen, and Mr. Ted's here as well. Trouble is, I really want to hear what you've got to say, but I can't. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, pause the video. Not yet. So if you paused it, you see, you've just come back and I'm now started talking again. You're going to pause the video in just a moment, and the adult in the room with you is going to be the person who's going to listen on my behalf and on Mr. Ted's behalf. And you're going to tell them something that you are thankful for, that you want to say thank you for, and or something that you want to ask Hashem for, something that you would like to happen. So off you go. Pause it, and I'll see you in a moment. And welcome back. All right, so we are heading now towards the end of our Kabbalat Shabbat. But as I said right at the start, and Mr. Ted has been wondering as much as you have, Seitchem Shalom. Who are we going to be saying, go in peace? See you later. Adios, Buckaroo. 10-4, good buddy. Who are we saying any of those things to? Well, we are saying goodbye to a couple of our teachers, Mrs. Hartman and Mrs. Myerson. So we hope they have enjoyed teaching you. I'm sure they have. And we wish them the very best of luck in their new schools and their new, everything they do new in the future. And also want to say Hatzlacha Rabbah to Matty, Ollie, Adina, Ella, Rafi, Maya, Lili, Amelie, Amitai, Sammy, Natan, Alex, Orake, Enya, Gabriel, Ora M, Rachel, Asha, Daniela, Joey, Noah, Liad, Noah, Yoni, Eyal, Eliana, Joshua, Asha, Dina, Zach, and Asha. And if in the course of me looking up and down, because I didn't want to forget anyone, so if by some mistake I have forgotten one of the year sixes, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. But all of you have all the very best wishes from every single person involved at Saks Marsha. We hope that you go on to be amazing human beings, amazing people, amazing givers, amazing students, and just carry on being amazing, because we have really enjoyed being with you all. I know that a lot of the adults might feel like they've had too much to say to you over the years, but hopefully it's all been to develop your characters. It's all been to develop you as individuals. And the best thing that you can do now is go out and be superb and just enjoy every day. And when you find yourself in times of trouble, you're finding yourself a little bit low, just remember all the fantastic people that you have touched with your individual characters along the way. You might have been really noisy. You might have been really, really confident. You might have been funny. You might have been quiet. You might have thought that you haven't been noticed because you don't necessarily say as much as everyone else. But I can assure you that you are noticed for everything you do. So, Hatzlacha Rabba. Shabbat Shalom to you all. I know that I will see all of you next week in school, but as this is the last time online, have a great summer. Rest well, enjoy every moment, and see most of you in September. Shabbat Shalom from me, and Shabbat Shalom from him. Shabbat Shalom.